A win is a win is a win, and the Indiana Fever without Caitlin Clark go up against the Las Vegas Aces and last year's MVP, A'ja Wilson, and walk away with a W, 80-70. Sophie Cunningham has been hot to trot. Sophie Cunningham has been on fire.
What happens when the Indiana Fever lose their biggest star but still come out and dominate A'ja Wilson's Las Vegas Aces? The answer might just change the way you see this squad. With Caitlin Clark sidelined by injury, still passionately reacting from the bench, her teammates stepped up and got the job done in a big way. Kelsey Mitchell poured in 21 points right when it counted most, and Sophie Cunningham? She's officially on fire. No exaggeration, she's become the hottest player in the league. This wasn't just another win. It was a statement, loud and clear, that rippled through the entire WNBA. So, how did the Fever pull off such a commanding performance? And what exactly did Sophie do that's got everyone talking? Drop a "read at Sophie" in the comments if you're feeling the energy. Let's break it down.
Back in the W chat.
Oh, that was a gut check win right there. Oh, nothing in the chat.
Yes, Natasha Howard!
Fever, go!
Okay, right.
That was a fun one. My gosh, and these jerseys are slaying.
Picture this. Your team's coming off back-to-back losses to the Liberty, and your franchise player is sidelined in street clothes nursing a groin injury. That's the exact situation the Indiana Fever walked into as they returned to Gainbridge Fieldhouse on July 24th. The sting of those two defeats was still fresh, and you could feel the pressure in the building. The big question on everyone's mind? Who are the Fever without Caitlin Clark?
Obviously, there's no timeline for Caitlin, but what has she been able to do this last week? Is it mostly just rehab recovery, or has she been able to do any kinds of practice?
Yeah, no, I mean, we haven't really practiced since the couple days before All-Star break. So mostly rehab, shooting, and she's been with our athletic training team, and we've been preparing everybody else.
The Fever's 12-12 record only scratched the surface. Doubts weren't just creeping in. They were flooding every corner of the conversation. Pundits weren't debating playoff potential anymore. They were already closing the book on the season. Social media was relentless, and sports shows tore into them, calling the Fever frauds who crumbled the moment their star player went down. The message was harsh but clear. Without Clark, this team had no identity. And the pressure? It was mounting fast. Every game had post-season implications now. The next obstacle? A'ja Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces, reigning back-to-back champs who could sniff weakness from a mile away. They came into Indy with a nearly identical 12-11 record but carried themselves like they owned the place.
Caitlin presents a challenge in itself for any opponent, but when she doesn't play, how is your team different?
I think our ball moves differently. What we run is different. She has such gravity, and her ability, not just to be at the top of the scouting report, but her ability to make everybody better with the ball in her hands. So some of the things that we run are different when she's on the floor than when she's not. We run some more off-ball stuff, a lot less on-ball.
Coach Stephanie White felt the pressure more than anyone. She understood that this game wasn't just another date on the schedule. It was a defining moment for her team's identity. Were they a real threat that could hang with the league's best, or just another squad that couldn't function without their superstar on the floor? White knew she had to dig deep and deliver the kind of message that would cut through the doubt settling in around the locker room. This was about proving who they were when everything seemed stacked against them.
Yeah, it's definitely a relief to know that there's nothing else going on and no more damage. Now it's just being patient with the process. You can't have 5-minute lapses against great teams. They make you pay, and they bury you in those moments. I think we've seen, throughout the course of the season, where we've been really good for long stretches, and where we've weathered the ups and downs of a game, and we've got to be able to do that from a neutral mindset. We can't get into the playing conservative.
The Aces rolled in with confidence, borderline arrogance. You could see it in how they carried themselves during warm-ups. A'ja Wilson and her fellow Olympians had probably marked this matchup the second Clark was ruled out. To them, this was the perfect setup to confirm what critics had been saying all season. that the Fever were just a one-woman show in disguise. For Wilson, who's battled her own quiet resentment toward all the attention Clark's received over the past 2 years, this felt personal. This was her shot to remind everyone who the real MVP was. For Vegas, this wasn't just another game, it was a statement. A moment to prove that rings matter more than headlines. But then, something no one expected happened. The narrative flipped. Because sometimes, the best thing that can happen to a team is being completely written off. The Fever didn't fold under the weight of doubt. They thrived on it. What was supposed to be their weakness turned into their fire. And what unfolded next stunned the entire league. The Fever sent a message loud and clear: champions aren't made when everything's easy. They're built in the chaos, when everything falls apart and you fight anyway.
Let's go!
Okay, we answered runs today, y'all. We had one another's back today, y'all. In the moments where it seemed like they could have made a little bit of a comeback, we stopped that. Yeah, we sure did. Now we have to be able to continue to stack that, maintain that consistency right there. I'm so proud of you guys. So proud of you guys. That was a hard-fought win. You earned it. We got on 3, 1, 2, 3 together.
When a team needs someone to step up, it's not always the loudest voice that answers the call. Sometimes, it's the one who's been quietly waiting for the right moment. And for the Fever, that person was Kelsey Mitchell. She'd taken a lot of criticism this season for being unpredictable. One night she'd light it up with 20 points, and the next, she'd go ice cold when her team needed her most. And early on in this matchup against the Aces, it looked like that same pattern was repeating. Mitchell missed her first few shots and couldn't find any rhythm. You could see the frustration written all over her face. The fans at Gainbridge Fieldhouse started to feel it too. Without Clark running the offense, the energy was dipping, and so was the hope. Every missed shot added to the weight Mitchell was already carrying. Through 3 quarters, she had just 4 makes on 19 attempts. On paper, that's the kind of night that gets a player pulled in crunch time. But Coach Stephanie White saw something else. She had a different vision for how this game, and Mitchell's role in it, would end.
Handoff Cunningham. Cunningham too strong. Mitchell able to save the day. And it's Mitchell going right to the rim. Beats the shot clock and lays it in. Mitchell to the rescue.
Sessions very disruptive, causing all kinds of havoc. Late shot clock situations. And then
Kelson thought about the 3. Cunningham feed inside. Boston spinning, turning, ducking, finding Mitchell, who splashes home a 3.
During a timeout, Coach White pulled Kelsey Mitchell aside and gave her the message that flipped the script. Asterisk, let it fly. It's going to go, asterisk, just a few words, but exactly what Mitchell needed to hear. It wasn't just encouragement, it was belief. White also coached her up on the details, reminding her to stay balanced when driving to the basket so she could read the defense and make smarter plays. And that's when something special started to happen. Mitchell's teammates rallied around her, not in ways that show up in the stat sheet, but in the grit and grind moments. They found her in better spots on the floor. They set tougher, more intentional screens. They opened up just enough space for her to get back in rhythm. And once the confidence returned, everything started to click.
Really fun. Couple of former teammates played 2 years together.
clear out, take it.
Mitchell sizing up Lloyd. She will launch and bury a 3.
Get out of the way. Mitchell pulling the trigger from deep. Fever up 9. Got 2 really good offensive coaches over there on the sideline.
Mitchell finds a cutting Boston, who lays it in. From Mitchell here on this one.
So you don't want anybody to cut across the front of your face, but it's just a really good delivery.
Then something shifted in the second half, almost like a switch flipped. Suddenly, Kelsey Mitchell was locked in, knocking down shots from every corner of the floor. Her quickness turned into a nightmare for the Aces' defense. She attacked the rim with purpose, finishing through contact like she had something to prove. And when defenders backed off, she punished them with smooth mid-range jumpers that barely touched the rim. Everything she put up started to fall.
Offense was not the issue for Indiana on Tuesday. They put up 84 points despite the absence of Caitlin Clark. Cunningham hit 5 threes, and it's her first tonight. Stay with Indiana.
So Sophie Cunningham doing a really good job of reading the stagger, You have options off that, and she's reading the second.
The fourth quarter turned into Kelsey Mitchell's personal stage with the game hanging in the balance. She dropped 9 clutch points in those final 12 minutes, going an efficient 4 for 5 from the field when the pressure was at its peak. But she wasn't just scoring, she was creating. Mitchell dished out 4 assists, tying for the team lead, showing she could facilitate just as well as she could finish. In the moments that mattered most, she carried the offense and elevated everyone around her.
Playing for Sophie Cunningham to start again tonight, or what's your...
Yes.
What is it about her, I guess, at the start of a game that you like having her in the lineup?
Another ball handler, another player who can create shots for her teammates, as well as stretch the floor. A really good defensive rebounder as well. We had at times really struggled from a defensive rebounding standpoint, so like that as well. And her energy.
While all eyes were on who would step up and replace Caitlin Clark's scoring, Sophie Cunningham was quietly turning into one of the league's deadliest shooters. Heading into this matchup against the Aces, she was on an absolute tear, posting double figures in 6 straight games. Her production was becoming too consistent to overlook. Cunningham was averaging 13.7 points and 4.7 rebounds per game, and she was knocking down 3 triples a night with killer efficiency. The spotlight may not have been on her at first, but she was making sure it found her.
Melissa Smith on you. I would just clear it out if you're Mitchell. Just tell everybody to go to the other side of the floor.
Cunningham straight away delivers with a 3.
Or that.
It was never a question of whether Sophie Cunningham could shoot. Everyone already knew she had that in her bag. The real challenge was whether she could keep up this red-hot pace against top-tier opponents like Aya Wilson's championship-caliber aces. The spotlight was brighter now, and defenses were starting to zero in on her, building game plans specifically to shut her down. But the numbers? They were almost unreal. Over her last 6 games, Cunningham was hitting an insane 58.1% from beyond the arc, making her the hottest 3-point shooter in the entire WNBA for the month of July. And these weren't meaningless buckets in blowouts. She was burying clutch shots in high-pressure moments, exactly when her team needed her the most.
Vegas has done a nice job coming on the road, keeping Indiana Fever in check offensively, and Sophie Cunningham, you cannot...
Against the Aces, Cunningham rose to the occasion when it mattered most. She drilled 3 of her 4 shots from deep, and her 15 points weren't just padding the box score, they were cold-blooded daggers. Each one came at the exact right moment, shutting down any chance the Aces had of swinging the momentum. Every time Vegas started to make a push, Cunningham responded with another clutch triple that slammed the door shut on their hopes of a comeback. What sets Cunningham apart isn't just her lights-out shooting, it's everything else she brings to the table. She crashes the boards, defends with grit, and steps up as a leader when her team needs it most. Coach Stephanie White didn't just slot her into the starting lineup for her scoring, she did it to tap into Cunningham's relentless energy and all-around versatility. White praised her as a floor spacer, a defensive rebounder, and a secondary playmaker who can handle the ball and create shots. Now, analysts across the league are seriously talking about her as the leading candidate for 6th Player of the Year. And honestly, who's even in the conversation with her right now? One analyst even called her an absolute assassin for the way she delivers in the clutch. With her steady scoring and game-changing presence off the bench, Cunningham has become a legitimate frontrunner for the award.
Vegas got to lock in right here. One-on-one.
Donald pulls up and hits a 3! But Lloyd got open on the other.
Sophie Cunningham's rise from a reliable role player to a full-blown offensive weapon has completely changed the Fever's outlook. She's no longer just a supporting piece, she's become one of the league's most feared shooters. Fans are even calling for the doubters to issue apologies, because she's proven all the skepticism wrong. Her steady hand and ability to deliver in pressure moments have turned her into the ideal complement to the team's championship hopes. And when Caitlin Clark returns from injury, she'll be rejoining a squad that now features another legitimate scorer capable of flipping the momentum of a game. Cunningham has shown she's not just ready, she belongs on the game's biggest stage. Then, with 35 seconds on the clock and the game still hanging in the balance, Ari McDonald stepped up for the moment that would seal it all. The Fever were holding on to a 5-point lead, but against a team like Vegas, that cushion felt razor-thin. The Aces had been clawing back all quarter, and one big stop followed by a bucket could have changed everything.